Hey there, and welcome to the barn. I am in Northeast Tennessee back home. Cannot believe I'm here. I love it here. You ever go away and then you come back and you love it even more? That's what I am. Okay, so let's start this out. Today, I wanted to talk real quick about my number one recommended homestead animal to start with. Four reasons why you should have one or them and three of my favorite breeds. So here we go. First, let's talk about a little vocabulary as soon as I tell you what it is, which I wonder if you can guess what it is because it seems to be the standard of what every homestead or garden or farm or anything has or wants to have, and that is the awesome chicken. So, as far as looking into starting with chickens, if you have never raised chickens, here's a few vocabulary words that might save you a little time when you try to look up chickens, whether it be full grown chickens or from a hatchery if you're going to buy the little babies. So, a few words. Most of the time, if you start with the babies, if you find them on websites or Tractor Supply or Rural King or wherever the big box stores have animal feed and stuff, usually in the spring, early spring through summer. Actually, some places carry them all through the year. You'll find that they're called chicks. Okay, they're chicks because they're babies, and depending on your part of the country, some people call them biddies. But if you go to a hatchery website, you're going to find chicks is the name. Another thing to be aware of is you want to know what you want to get by what gender they are. So, sexing is what they call it whenever they check if they're a boy or a girl. And when they don't check, they call it unsexed or it's a mix. So, it's boys or girls. They don't check. Doesn't matter. You're going to order, just say 100 straight run, or you're going to see them in Tractor Supply or Rural King or somewhere, and it's going to be straight run. They don't know if they're boys or girls, and unless you know how to quote unquote sex them as far as seeing what their gender is, I'm sure they have some sort of education on that. Uh, I don't, most of us just go to the store or go to the hatchery online, order what we want, and we go from there. So the next thing is what most people want are the girls, and those are called pullets. Yes, they're the girls, but they're also young girls, so they haven't started laying eggs. And then cockerels are the males, and you can get those as individual chicks as well. When the pullet starts laying eggs, they're called a hen. If you do not want to start with chicks, I would recommend buying the adults or almost adults. I think I've said this before. A lot of 4-H programs will have their 4-H'er get the chicks and they'll raise them and they're pullets. They'll raise them, I can't remember how many weeks, maybe 16 or so weeks, and then they will auction them off, and then it's just like a learning experience, and then get a little bit of money to pay back what all they have fed the chicks and stuff. So you can get an almost an adult. 16 weeks is still younger than when I think around 5 months is when they start laying eggs. So you're not too far. Let's see. Yeah, that's 4 months. It's late. I don't wanna do the math. Um, so they're around 4 months when they sell them. 'Em. They're almost adult laying age for laying you some eggs. Around 5 months is when I've generally started having pullets start laying and become hens. Now, my 3 favorite breeds of chickens that I would recommend for multiple reasons. Probably one reason is how they look in general as far as health and overall appearance. Another would be they just seem to be more hardy. as far as like weather or not just inclement weather, but hot, cold, doesn't matter. They just seem to be more resilient. And these 3 are the Rhode Island Red. These are like classics. Rhode Island Red, Barred Rock, and Buff Orpingtons. Those are my top 3. I would say I could go for those anytime and I would be happy. So, why should you keep chickens on your homestead? I will give you my 4 answers to that, and they all start with E. You ready? Number 1, what do you guess? Eggs. Of course, eggs. I would probably recommend that you have a coop. And while a lot of folks will free range without like a general coop, some folks do. Uh, I've been there, and it's like an Easter egg hunt, and you never know if those eggs are good anymore when you find them. But number one, I would say eggs. Definitely have a coop for them to go in. You can train them to go there at night. They're very adaptable to routine. And number two, I would say it's for an enrichment of your soil. So their manure is an additive to the soil. And while I wouldn't put it straight on the garden because it's a very acidic manure, I would definitely see it as the benefit to your soul, even if it's going to take some time. Just say you have a coop and you muck the manure and then you put it in a compost. And then it would just compost down and then you wouldn't have to worry about it after a while. And then you can use it wherever under your fruit trees, in your garden beds. As soon as you let it compost, it's a good time. So, number three is they eat your scraps. It is so awesome. You have no if I could quantify how many times I've gotten to the point where it's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm done with chickens. Such a good break." And then it's like, "Oh, wait. We have so many scraps just from cooking or weeding or anything that it's like, "Oh, we have an overload. We need some more chickens." They are just so versatile. They're just so helpful for your homestead, your garden, your farm, and they turn those scraps into your soil, and it is awesome. And number 4, I would say is entertainment. I know they get a bad rap for being dumb or stupid, and I'm not one to say that they're like a genius or anything, but they are kinda entertaining. Uh, when we first had chickens at all, as our family, we were moving from our cul-de-sac in town to our 25-acre property in the woods. And I ordered 100 chicks, pullets. I had ordered 100 pullets before we were even going to move. And if you get on the websites, you can kind of pick your date when they'll hatch. And so I had picked it to be around the time that we were going to be on the property. Well, we were moving about 45 minutes from the cul-de-sac. So from the cul-de-sac to the woods, we were about 45 minutes. Well, when they ship your chicks, they don't ship to your house. They ship to the post office. And the address I had at the time of ordering was the cul-de-sac. So it was in town, 45 minutes from there, and then another 10 or so to the post office. So we had already moved, and then they call when we're out in the sticks, which we hardly have cell phone service. And they call super early in the morning because they're chirping away and they want you to come get your chirp birds. And it's kind of entertaining um, just with that because as many times as you order, you kind of know who's calling. And you don't even have to answer the phone and say hello. You just hear the chicks chirping in the background. Like, when you're ordering a lot, they're like, hey, you mind coming and getting these, please? But so I ordered 100 pullets. they delivered them to the post office in town. So I had to load up all 7 kids and basically drive an hour to go get these chicks and drive an hour back and then set them all up. And those chicks, I think they were Buff Orpingtons were our very first chick. And I didn't know what chick to order and what I would like and what I wouldn't. We've had all kinds over the years. But interestingly, those became like one of my favorites. So when we get them home, and you set them up, they're very entertaining just to watch them as little 3-day-old babies. And as they grow, they have this way of what we call other people call it probably something else, but we call it chicken football. So you can just throw like anything. It actually doesn't even have to be anything edible, but it's like a toddler or something. Like they grab it and then they just run around, and then all the other ones are chasing it, and because they all want it. Um, you could throw in a mealworm, a grub, a regular worm or something when they're old enough to eat it. And then one will pick it up and then run around, and then all the other ones are trying to chase it. It is so entertaining to me. Maybe it doesn't take a whole lot to entertain me, but it's just kind of fun to watch nature in its just creative and entertaining way it is. So, entertainment is definitely number 4 for me. Chicken football is I mean, whenever we have chickens, we still do chicken football. Uh, just you can watch them, they'll do it on their own, but if you throw something in there on purpose, sometimes they'll do that, like, you have a bunch of scraps and you just throw, like, one thing in there just to watch them play, and we should probably do a real thing, like, we have, like, goals and stuff like that. That would be pretty entertaining for us, but I don't have the patience. So, entertainment for sure, but when they grow, I would definitely make sure that you have a coop where they can lay their eggs for you and you can collect them in one area and not all over your homestead like a Easter egg hunt. Okay, so let me do a recap. My favorite number 1 recommended homestead animal is by far the chicken. It's an awesome animal and it is great for food. So you get eggs, you get an enriched soil, they eat your scraps. They are entertaining and they are fun to have on the homestead. And they're kind of aesthetically pleasing. They're just kind of nice to look at, not just entertaining. S- They're pretty. They're actually pretty animals. So that is the 4 reasons why I would most definitely have a chicken on your homestead. And there's no time to not have a chicken. You can have them any season, every season, all sorts of different ages. You can get complicated, like picking out your chicken, how many chickens you'll have. If you want to have a whole lot of eggs at a certain time, of course, you can pick out like how old the chicken will be by the time you order and it grows to that age. But in general, just have chickens. We don't have to overthink it. If we just have chickens, it's awesome. It really is. They're a good animal to have. It's kind of calming too. My favorites, again, are the Rhode Island Red, the Barred Rock, and the Buff Orpington. If you want to keep learning and growing in your profession as a homesteading homemaker, sign up on the website, thehappyhomesteadmaker.com.